Hello everyone. In this video, I will be explaining regarding different ways of recording a macro. So there are basically two ways of recording a macro. First is absolute way of recording a macro and second is relative way. I will be explaining this to by considering one particular example. The example that I am taking here is I want to record a task of writing three Indian city name in Excel. So when I execute the code, I want three Indian city name in the particular location in Excel. So first I will be explaining absolute way of recording a macro. So for that, go in developer tab and in developer tab, click on record macro. So this will start recording a macro. It will throw a pop-up which will be asking for input from the user. First is macro name. So what will be the name of macro that you want to give? Here by default the name is macro1. I will be keeping the macro1 name by default. Second is shortcut key. If you require any shortcut key for your macro, then you can type it over here. I am keeping it empty. The third is store macro in. So the macro that you are generating, where you want to store it. There are three different options. First is personal macro workbook. Second is new workbook. And third is this workbook. Since I want to store the macro that I would be generating in the same workbook, so I'm selecting this workbook and then the description. So if you want to describe the macro that you are generating, you can type it over here. I'm keeping it empty. Click OK. So now the recording has started. Let me write three Indian city name over here. So these are the three Indian city name that I have written, and now I'm stopping the recording part. Now Excel has generated the task that I have done and generated the code. If you want to see the code that Excel has generated, you need to go in Visual Basic. So it will be opening the Visual Basic for application, and in that Project Explorer, you will be able to see Module 1. If you double click on Module 1, you will able to see the code for the task that you had recorded. Now, I want to run this code. For that, let me first remove this tree name and let me run the macro that I have recorded. So this is the macro 1 and run it. So it is populating the name of three cities that I had written earlier. So the task I wish to automate is done. Now there is something interesting to observe over here, that let's say I'm deleting this and I'm running the macro once again. So the thing that need to observe here is it is populating the name only at the place where we had recorded the task. It is not populating at any other location in Excel. So if we wish that name should populate at different location in Excel, what I mean to say here is, suppose if I activate E4 cell, then it should populate the name at E4 cell. If I activate G7 cell, then it should populate the name of city at G7 cell. If we want to record the task like that, then in that scenario, what we have to do is, first we need to activate use relative reference and then start recording. So it is asking me the same thing, the name of macro. So here macro 2 is there. By default I am using macro 2 only. I am keeping this empty, this workbook description is empty, and clicking OK. Now I am writing the same name. So now the name I have written, I will stop recording and stop use relative reference. The code for the task is generated and we can see this code in Visual Basic for Application Console. So here is the code that is generated for the relative reference recording macro. Now let us check the code that we have generated. Um, let me activate I6 cell and run the code macro 2. So it is populating at I6 cell. Now let me activate D4 cell and see the code and run. So it is populating at D4 cell. So the objective is achieved. So in this video I explained regarding two different ways of recording. First is absolute way of recording and second is relative way of recording. Thank you.